The presence of carbon determines whether something is organic or inorganic. All living things require carbon to live. Carbon cycles through the ecosystem in various ways, from photosynthesis and respiration to weathering and other geological processes. Many factors, such as seasons and human activities, influence the concentration of carbon in the global atmosphere. The series of processes by which carbon compounds are interconverted in the environment, involving the incorporation of carbon dioxide into living tissue by photosynthesis and its return to the atmosphere through respiration, the decay of dead organisms, and the burning of fossil fuels. The carbon cycle. The carbon cycle is the series of processes by which carbon compounds are interconnected in the environment, involving the incorporation of carbon dioxide into living tissue by photosynthesis and its return to the atmosphere through respiration, the decay of dead organisms, and the burning of fossil fuels. It is a biogeochemical cycle by which carbon is exchanged among the biosphere, pedosphere, geosphere, hydrosphere, and atmosphere of the Earth. The carbon cycle is one of the Earth's fastest recycling processes. Each atom of carbon has been recycled numerous times. For this reason, the carbon cycle has no specific beginning or ending point. The carbon cycle passes through three main stages: reservoirs, assimilation, and release. Much of the Earth's carbon is contained in the atmosphere, which serves as a reservoir. Atmospheric carbon consists mostly of carbon dioxide and has two major sinks: terrestrial ecosystems and marine ecosystems, both of which deal with photosynthesis as a part of assimilation and respiration as a part of release. Terrestrial ecosystems draw carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and use it in photosynthesis. Another important source of carbon in the atmosphere is in the decomposition of organic material. Carbon dioxide is captured by plants throughout their lives, and heterotrophic organisms in turn obtain a part of this carbon. The element is transferred from one organism to another organism when plants are eaten by herbivores, which are in turn eaten by carnivores along the food chain. All these organisms go through respiration, excrete organic waste, and eventually die and decompose, which releases carbon into the soil either as carbonates or as fossil fuels. The carbon dioxide drawn into marine ecosystem is eventually released through oceanic respiration. Through time and pressure, the organic material buried in soil and sediments may eventually become fossil fuels such as coal and oil, which then become additional sources of carbon. When these are burned, they emit tremendous amounts of carbon back into the atmosphere. Thus, the atmospheric carbon that is sequestered through weathering and the terrestrial and marine ecosystem sinks eventually recycle the process of decomposition, respiration, and tectonic forces, releasing them once more into the atmosphere. Carbon is to nitrogen ratio. The C/N ratio is the mass of carbon to the mass of nitrogen in a particular substance. For example, if we have a C/N ratio of 24:1, this means we have 24 units of carbon to 1 unit of nitrogen. The C/N ratio is important because it has a direct impact on residue decomposition and also nitrogen cycling in our soil. The optimum C/N ratio is 24:1 for the microorganisms must to sustain their health. A microorganism living in the soil has a C/N ratio of about 8:1. This is what they must maintain in their bodies. For optimum health, the microbes require approximately 16 parts of carbon for energy and then 8 parts for maintenance. This is where the ratio of 24:1 comes from. When selecting our crop and cover crop rotation, it is important that we take into consideration the C/N ratio of certain plants that we may want to include in our rotation. Significance of C/N ratio. High C/N ratio, for example, corn. C/N ratio is equal to 30:1. Decomposition is lower. Microorganism will deplete soil of nitrate and ammonium until they die and release nitrate and ammonium. Low C/N ratio, for example, legumes. C/N ratio is equal to 20:1. Decomposition is rapid due to higher nitrogen within the plant. Microorganisms are satisfied with plant nitrogen. When microorganisms die, nitrate and ammonia are released, increasing soil nitrogen. Biomass and carbon is to nitrogen ratio. Some biomass materials and their carbon is to nitrogen ratio are rye straw 82:1, wheat straw 80:1, oat straw 70:1, corn stover 57:1, pea straw 29:1, ideal microbial diet 24:1, rotten barnyard manure 20:1, legume hay 17:1, soil microbes an average of 18:1. Soil organic matter. Soil organic matter (SOM) is defined as all organic materials found in soils irrespective of origin or state of decomposition. Substances containing carbon are organic matter. Soil organic matter consists of decomposing plant and animal residues. It also includes substances of organic origin, either living or dead. Soil organic matter plays an important role in deciding or maintaining soil physical conditions. It also influences soil chemical properties, especially cation exchange capacity. Organic matter supply the energy sources for soil microorganisms. Soil development is another aspect which is influenced by the soil organic matter. Plant tissue is the major source. Animals are considered as the secondary sources. They attack original plant tissues, contribute waste products, and leave their own bodies after death. Factors affecting soil organic matter: climate, natural vegetation, texture, drainage, cropping and tillage, crop rotations, residues, and plant nutrients. Composition of soil organic matter. Composition of organic residues. Plant residues contain 75% moisture and 25% dry matter. This 25% is made up of carbon, that is 10 to 12%, oxygen 9 to 10%, hydrogen 1.5 to 2.5%, and nitrogen 1 to 2%, and mineral matter around 1 to 3%. Composition of plant tissues. Carbohydrates. Cellulose 20 to 50%, hemicellulose 10 to 30%, starch, sugar 1 to 5%, proteins 1 to 15%, fats, waxes, tannins 1 to 10%, lignins 10 to 30%. Decomposition. Different organic residues contain different organic compounds. There is great variation in the rate of decomposition of organic residues. Sugars, starches, and simple proteins are very rapidly decomposed. On the other hand, fats, waxes, and lignins are very slowly decomposed. Hemicellulose, celluloses, and protein are intermediate. Even though the composition may vary, the end products are more or less the same. The general reactions taking place during decomposition are enzymatic oxidation of the bulk with the release of carbon dioxide, water, energy, and heat. Essential elements are released, that is, nitrogen, phosphorus, sulfur, etc., and immobilized by a series of reactions. Formation of compounds which are resistant to microbial action. Molecules very resistant to microbial action is formed either through modification of compounds or by microbial synthesis. Microbial action may be under aerobic conditions or anaerobic conditions. Mineralization. The biological conversion of organic forms of carbon, nitrogen, phosphorus, and sulfur to inorganic or mineral forms is called mineralization. Immobilization. The conversion of inorganic forms of carbon, nitrogen, phosphorus, and sulfur by the soil organisms into organic forms is called immobilization. Fractions of soil organic matter. Soil organic matter can be divided into two major groups: particulate organic matter, that is active form, and humus, transitioning organic matter with increasingly stable or complex compounds. Particulate organic matter, that is POM. Many compounds like sugars, starches, certain proteins in this SOM group are quick and easy for fungi and bacteria to decompose. So, the carbon and energy they provide is readily available. Most of the microbes living in the soil have the enzymes needed to decompose these simple compounds. Because of its short turnover time, usually a few months, many soil scientists refer to POM as the organic fertilizer property of SOM. An example of a way to increase POM is by planting legumes, that is clovers, alfalfa, soya beans, etc., also called green manuring. Humus, that is stabilized organic matter. Humus is the organic component of soil formed by the decomposition of leaves and other plant material by soil microorganisms. This pool of soil organic matter is resistant to biological degradation because it is either physically, for example, lignins contained in woody biomass, or chemically, like humic acids, less accessible to microbial activity. These compounds are more complex than fresh POM created through a combination of biological activity and chemical reactions in the soil. Humus is a critical component of the long-term sustainability of soil's ability to provide plant nutrients, especially nitrogen. Compared to the short half-life of POM, transitional humus can last in soils for years, with highly stable humus lasting up to centuries. Properties of humus. The tiny colloidal particles are composed of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. The colloidal particles are negatively charged, like the OH, COOH, or the phenolic groups, has very high surface area, higher cation exchange capacity, that is CEC 150 to 300 C mole per kg, 4 to 5 times higher water holding capacity than that of silicate clays. Humus has a very favorable effect on aggregate formation and stability. Impart black color to soils. Cation exchange reactions are similar to those occurring with silicate clays. Soil organisms. Soil life, soil biota, soil fauna, or adaphone is a collective term that encompasses all organisms that spend a significant portion of their life cycle within a soil profile or at the soil litter interface. These organisms include earthworms, nematodes, protozoa, fungi, bacteria, and different arthropods. Soil flora and fauna. Soil supports a wide array of organisms of different bodies and taxonomic groups. Generally, soil organisms are classified into three major groups, namely microfauna and microflora, mesofauna and meofauna, and macrofauna. Microfauna. It includes animals with body within the range of 20 microns to 200 microns. It includes all protozoa and small demites, nematodes, rotifers, tardigrades, and copepod crustacea. Soil inhibiting protozoans like amoeba, ciliates, zoomastogen, flagellates occur near the surface soils, while the testate forms like thecamoeba, euglypha, and difflugia have a wider vertical distribution. Microflora. The microflora of soil includes bacteria, soil fungi, soil actinomycetes, blue-green algae, and algae in soil. Microflora bacteria form about 90% of the total population. Fungi and algae together represent 1% and actinomycetes cover about 9%. Soil bacteria grow fairly well in the neutral soils richly supplied with organic nutrients. They are classified as autotrophic bacteria and heterotrophic bacteria. The autotrophic bacteria derive their energy from the oxidation of simple carbon compounds or from inorganic substances and their carbon from the atmosphere. The common autotrophic bacteria of soil are nitrogen fixing bacteria, hydrogen bacteria, sulfur bacteria, iron bacteria, manganese bacteria, carbon monoxide bacteria, and methane bacteria. Most of soil bacteria are heterotrophic bacteria depending upon the organic matter of soil for their energy source and are primarily concerned with the decomposition of cellulose and other carbohydrates, proteins, fats, and waxes. Majority of soil fungi are found in acidic soils. They may be parasitic, saprophytic, and symbiotic. Parasitic fungi of soil infect roots of plants and cause plant diseases such as cotton root rot and many kinds of wilts, rusts, blights, and smuts. Certain parasitic fungi produce growth stimulating substances for host plant. Fusarium species secrete gibberellin and gibberellic acid. Symbiotic fungi of soil live on the root of certain plants and both fungus and plants are benefited. Saprophytic fungi depend on dead organic matter of soil and derive the energy from decomposition of the latter. They break down cellulose, lignin, gum, sugars, starch, protein, etc. into simple gradients to be utilized by higher plants as nutrients. Mesofauna. Mesofauna include animals with body within the range of 200 µs to 1 cm. The microarthropods, acarina, mites, and colamoeba, springtails are important members of this group, which also includes the large nematodes, rotifers, and tardigrades, together with most of the isopods. Arachnida, spiders, chelognathi, pseudoscorpions, opilions, harvestmen, encytrade, potworms, insect larvae, and small millipedes, isopods, and mollusks. Among insects, aptergot, colamoeba form numerically the most important groups of soil insects. Others like Dermaptera, Zeucoptera, Dichoptera, Isoptera, Coloptera, and a few Hymenoptera are some Diptera also occur in soil. The termites such as Reticulotermes and Odontotermites are important soil dwellers of tropics and play an important role in the breakup of organic materials and their mixing up with mineral soils. Macroflora of soil. Soil supporters, a variety of plant like herbs, shrubs, trees and thalloid plants, all of which have specific adaptations for their particular soil types. Warming in 1909 have recognized following 5 ecological classes of plants on the basis of soil characteristics on which they grow. Oxalophytes, plants usually found on acid soils, for example, rhododendron, rumex species, etc. Halophytes, plants usually found on saline soils, for example, Salsola, Fetida, Salicoria, and Soda fruticosa. Samophytes, these plants grow on shifting sand. Lithophytes, plants which grow on rock surface. Chasmophytes, plants which grow in rock crevices. Macrofauna of soil. Macrofauna of soil include those animals whose body is greater than 1 centimeter. Lumbricidae, the mollusca, the large D chilopods, arachidans, and insects and the soil dwelling fossorial vertebrates belong to macrofauna. Earthworms. Earthworms are the major macrofauna of soil beneficial to the farmers. They usually occur in abundance in alkaline and moist soils and sparse in acid soils. They involve in the process of breaking up of litter fragments, decomposition of organic materials, and mixing them thoroughly with mineral soils, resulting in the formation of organic soils. About 1,800 species of earthworms are known. There are 293 species in the genus Ferretima. The common earthworms found in India are Ferretima, Posthuma, P. elongator, Lampita mautriti, etc. Their population may vary from 1,25,000 to 10 lakh per hectare. They are active in monsoon season. The worms prefer organic matter as their food. They also consume larvae of small animals and bacteria mixed with earth. The ingested soil and organic matter are ejected into the form of castings. They make crores of burrows which make the soil porous. Earthworms prefer warm, well-aerated soils. The casts have low carbonase to nitrogen ratio. The factors influencing the earthworm population and activity in the soil are availability of organic matter, soil pH, temperature, and soil moisture. Beneficial and harmful roles of soil organisms. Beneficial role of soil organisms. Soil nitrogen utilization by plants. Decomposition of dead organic matters. Nutrient transformation. Improvement of physical and chemical properties of soil. Bacteria carry out the decomposition of organic matter and synthesis of humus. Enzymatic transformations are carried out by bacteria. Bacteria oxidize or reduce many chemical reactions such as nitrogen fixation, sulfur oxidation, nitrification, etc. Symbiotic associations such as that found in Rhizobia, nitrogen-fixing bacteria, example legumes. Fungi mycorrhizal associations. These are important for water and phosphorus uptake, also improve soil structure. Earthworm channels improve permeability and aeration. Injurious effects of soil organisms on higher plants. Some rodents and moles may severely damage crops. Snails and slugs in some climates are dreaded pests. Ants transmit aphids, which are major pests. Nematodes infect roots of all plants, which in severe cases result in crop failure. Microflora exert the most devastating effect on plants. Fungi are responsible for most soil-borne diseases like wilt, damping off, root rots, and club roots of cabbage are caused by fungi. Actinomycetes and bacteria also cause several diseases. Some bacteria are involved in the denitrification of NO3 to elemental nitrogen, which is a loss. Summary: the elemental carbon is present in all living organisms. It is recycled through various processes which are described in the carbon cycle. In the sea, marine animals may convert some of the carbon in their diet to calcium carbonate, which is used to make their shells. Over time, the shells of dead organisms collect on the seabed and form limestone. Due to earth movements, this limestone may eventually become exposed to the air where it's weathered and the carbon is released back into the atmosphere as carbon dioxide. Volcanic action may also release carbon dioxide. The C/N ratio is the mass of carbon to the mass of nitrogen in a particular substance, and it has a direct impact on residue decomposition and also nitrogen cycling in our soils. Lower the C/N ratio, faster the decomposition rate. Soil organic matter is defined as all organic materials found in soil irrespective of origin or state of decomposition. Soil organic matter can be divided into two major groups: particulate organic matter and humus. Soil supports a wide array of organisms of different bodies and taxonomic groups. Generally, soil organisms are classified into three major groups, namely microfauna and microflora, mesofauna and macrofauna. Soil organisms have both beneficial and harmful roles. Thank you.